Hi, this is David Lockeretz with FindMyMusicTeacher.com. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about playing jazz chords on the guitar. Now a lot of guitar players find jazz chords a little intimidating, and I'll admit that some of the names can be a little cumbersome. For example, how many times in a row can you say B flat 7 flat 9 flat 13? What I'm going to try to show you in this video is how some of these chords are actually easier than you might think, and some of them can actually be traced back to open chords that we know and love. And this chord that I just mentioned, B flat 7 flat 9 flat 13, is a good example of that. Here's how that chord looks. And believe it or not, you can actually trace it back to an open E chord. And here's how. A lot of you watching this are probably familiar with how if I take my open E chord and I play it up one fret, I put down my bar like a capo, and then I rebuild the chord with my other fingers. That's an F chord, right? You work your way up here to the 6th fret, becomes B flat. Then what I'll do is I'll lift my pinky to make it a B flat 7 chord. And I'll add my pinky over here on the second string. Now it's a B flat 13 chord. It sounds a little jazzier, a little bluesier, more interesting. Okay? Now I'm going to lose my ring finger because I don't really need it. It's playing the 5th, which is not a very interesting note in this chord. And I'm going to kind of realign my fingers like so. So I've actually broken my bar form, and I actually am a little more mobile now. So there's my B flat 13 chord. I'm going to take my pinky that represents the 13, I'm going to slide it back one fret, so it's now on the 7th fret as G flat. That's going to be B flat 7 flat 13, kind of an augmented type sound. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my pinky so it's barring both my 1st and 2nd strings to get that C flat, which most of the time we're going to call it a B, but here it's actually correct to call it C flat, on my 1st string. And there's my B flat 7 flat 9 flat 13 chord. Yes. Okay, now just to review how I got there. I started with an E chord. I barred it, made it an F chord, brought it up one fret, brought it up to my 6th fret, made it a B flat 7 chord, B flat 13, different voicing for B flat 13 without the bar, B flat 7 flat 13, and B flat 7 flat 9 flat 13. Yes, it can be done. Okay, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to play a E flat 7 sharp 9 chord. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Okay, now this can actually be traced back to the open C chord that you're probably familiar with. There's your C chord. Now, if I add my pinky on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, that makes it C7, which is probably familiar to a lot of you. Now I'm going to kind of realign things. I'm going to take this C, I'm going to play a D instead, so instead of C7, I now have C9, which is a chord you hear in a lot of Beatles songs, a lot of jazz and blues uses it. It's not that tough to play, it's a good chord to know. Now, my pinky is on the D, I'm going to bring it up to D sharp, which makes this chord C7 sharp 9. And now I have a movable chord voicing that I can play anywhere. So if I move it up 3 frets, up to my 5th and 6th frets, there's E flat 7 sharp 9. If I move it up one more fret, incidentally, I get E7 sharp 9, which is a chord used by Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and many other players. So those are a couple of examples of how you can learn some jazz chords that you can move all over the fretboard. Like bar chords, you can use them all over. You can play them to use. You can use them to play songs fluently in any keys, and you can kind of see also how once you learn one, there are several variations that you can learn. So don't get intimidated by the names. I realize the terminology is a little cumbersome, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot easier than it might seem at first. If you have any questions about other chords or any other general stuff you want to learn, feel free to email me, David at FindMyMusicTeacher.com. Always looking for new ideas of lesson materials to put up here. Always want to get a sense of what people want to learn. Always happy to help. Thanks for watching. Now go play some jazz chords.